So welcome, everyone. We continue here at COP26, and we're joined by Jess Schenkelman, who has followed this from day one. I mean, you're here pretty much 24/7, so congratulations. And yesterday, you saw that Greta Thunberg was finally in the venue. She's made a lot of headlines. Blah, blah, blah seems to be the catchline in this conference. What was a highlight from Greta Thunberg?
Yeah, so Greta Thunberg a couple of months ago was saying she wasn't even going to come to COP because she was worried about vaccine equity, that some countries wouldn't have access. We haven't heard a great deal about her, but yesterday she definitely made her presence known. So yesterday was Finance Day. Mark Carney, who's advising Boris Johnson on climate finance, he made this huge announcement that banks and asset managers representing $130 trillion, they are now aligned with net zero. So that doesn't mean that they have net zero in their portfolios, but that's the direction they're heading in. There's a lot of skepticism from NGOs around those numbers, some maybe a bit of double counting, and some questions around why they're still allowed to fund fossil fuels and whether that really will lead to 1.5 degree warming. So anyway, this whole morning was taken up with Mark Carney, Janet Yellen, David Malpass was there talking up the importance of the private sector and tackling climate change. And then in the afternoon, Carney was due to speak at a panel on offsetting, and that was Greta's problem. She thinks it's greenwash. She turned up, she was sat very quietly in the back of the audience for half an hour, and then she just walked out and she shouted at them, "Stop the greenwash." And then there was a speech from an indigenous representative who said that offsetting is harming indigenous communities, it's leading to more emissions, and they need to stop doing it.
And do you get a sense, and I always wonder about this with Greta, is there a sense that perhaps up to a point she's very useful, but it is becoming or turning into a gimmick? I mean, a lot of this has to do with putting on a show and getting on the media attention, clearly.
I mean, I don't think I would say that I find that with Greta specifically, but there is something about a COP where you always see these kind of things happening. There's always going to be protesters who turn up and wreck an event. Like, that's just the way it happens. And I've been to 5 COPs now, and that you start to get a sense of, I wouldn't say pageantry, but that is the process, you know. And it was quite interesting when she walked out. The guy who was hosting it, he just said, "Oh, thanks very much for being part of this, Greta." Like, you know, it's all taken in good nature, and they kind of welcome civil society's input on that.
Right,
as well.
and now she says she's not going to swear anymore on camera.
Oh,
so
not? Thank you, Greta.
She's not going to do it anymore. But you know, and kind of looking forward to today. It's Clean Energy Day. Of course, the timing of this is very funny to some extent. You know, we're going to talk about the future, clean, leaner, greener energy. But of course, we're paying so much attention to OPEC and whether or not we're going to get more oil being pumped into the market. What explains this dichotomy at the same, you know, we're pushing for green, but at the same time, we're still very much stuck in the old ways.
Yeah, I mean, it shows that it really does show the challenge for the COP talks when we're in the middle of this energy crisis. Biden is asking for more oil to be pumped. We don't know how much at the moment. And at the same time, the delegates here are talking about, well, it's the long-term challenge, but it's increasingly feeling like the short-term challenge. We're seeing, over the last 2 years, we've seen more and more climatic events, flooding in Germany, in China, wildfires in Canada. And people here are saying, this isn't about the future, this is about now, and we need to do something. I mean, it is very interesting timing. Russia is holding back gas, and it's you know, to do with this Nord Stream 2 pipeline that hasn't been approved in the EU, and at the same time COP is happening, and it's just all these things are clashing in one. I think on the whole, Energy Day here might not be as exciting as some of the previous days, partly because we already kind of know what's going to happen. So Alok Sharma, the COP president, he wants to consign coal to history. We already knew this weekend at the G20 that the group of 20 countries weren't really able to do that. They said, okay, we'll stop financing coal outside of our own countries, but some of them, like China and India, they're going to keep burning a lot of coal at home. So it's kind of remains, from what we're hearing, it doesn't seem like any of the announcements are going to take us much beyond that today. So I don't think Alok Sharma is going to necessarily get his win in consigning coal to history, but he might say it's the beginning of the end.
And just very briefly, you know, would you say that this crisis that we're seeing right now, especially in Europe with energy, shows that renewable energy at this point, it has serious limitations. We're not there yet to use it as a core, almost source of energy to do our everyday lives activity. It really does show that we're not there yet. It has big limitations.
Yeah, it shows, well, no one has ever said that renewable energy doesn't have limitations. So of course the wind doesn't blow all the time, the sun doesn't shine all the time. What you need is batteries, you need storage in any way that is, like hydroelectric or the lithium-ion batteries that people are really pushing. I think what experts are saying is it shows you either you need to be all in, so you can't just do like half a transition and build a few wind turbines and hope that you can get off coal. You need to really invest in those technologies that are going to fully decarbonize your grid. Otherwise you're going to be stuck in a halfway house where an energy crisis like this happens and you're kind of screwed.
And getting caught half-half is never a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Always good to see you.